So talk quietly. Okay.
Yeah, just talk loud.
Talk loudly. Oh
Yes,
yeah.
like that.
Hey, how
Yes,
you doing,
yes,
man?
yes, yes.
I know. I think
Yes.
that's
What do you got?
wow. Okay.
Well,
I have to watch because I have a loud voice, so I don't want to
okay, good.
deafen people there. And then to click is that?
Yeah. This is forward. This is backward. It's on. It's on. Yes, 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 yes. You just
Great.
direct it toward this laptop when you push the button.
Okay. Great. So ready when you guys are.
Okay. So we're okay. Great. So everybody is here. Let me introduce you, Frederick Crosby. And Frederick is Chief Revenue Officer at Western Union Digital. He has led marketing and business development at Western Union, PayPal, eBay, and startups, often by tapping global markets for growth. I'm just reading all of this. If you don't mind. Responsible for managing top line results through launching new product, excellence in marketing and pricing, partnerships with industry leaders, and building great get it done teams in tech, marketplaces, and communication space. Currently overseeing the expansion of Western Union's online and mobile business to its current position as the biggest digital cross-border money transfer service in the world, serving millions of customers' needs in over 200 countries. Frederick holds an MBA from University of Michigan and BA from UC Berkeley. Okay,
You
welcome.
got me.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Is this too loud? Are people okay with the sound right now?
We'll just
Yeah,
keep.
I feel like with one little oomph, I'll deafen the room. Well, thank you, and pleasure to meet you all this morning. I believe all of you from Australia. Is that how I understand? Love your country. Singapore. Singapore's not so bad either. Love that area too. So, as I mentioned, I'm Frederick Crosby. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Western Union Digital. We have, as you'll see, a global presence around the world, including our sites in Australia. So I've been to your lovely country. Before that, I worked at eBay and PayPal, which also brought me there, as well as to Singapore, where we have a major PayPal office. So welcome to California. I was born and raised down there. So I'm one of the few locals that you're going to find in the area. And it's I know we're rare. We're rare. Everyone likes to come here. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of excitement because things evolve here quickly, as we'll go through and talk a bit about more today. And like many stories, we're going to begin at the end. This is Woo is a new platform that we have out there, a new messaging structure. And what we do with it is we go and we wake up people that we have evolved. Western Union is not the company you once thought. We do a lot more than you think. And we come in from a marketing perspective and say, this is Woo. This is kind of the way that we present ourselves into the market. Because I don't know how much you know about our company. Am I doing this right? Point, click, main button. That's all right. We're in suspended state. Oh, there we go. Okay, got it. But how many of you think you know Western Union or have heard of Western Union at least? How many of you have ever used Western Union? All right, all right. There's going to be many more in the future if I have my way. Because Western Union had a tradition of being kind of a stodgy, old-fashioned, cash-to-cash company. In fact, many of the places that you'll find us at or might be in a part of town that you don't frequent much. We had a connection with the underserved and underbanked, but it really accumulated to much, much more than that. We are a money transfer giant. We move more money across seas than any other company, any other consumer-facing financial service out there. And the numbers are pretty staggering. And it starts off with a typo. That should be 85 billion. So we move $85 billion worth of money from person to person, over 255 million transactions, healthy revenue and profit. That's why our stock has been doing very well lately. And it is driven by just a lot of different businesses. We all talk about that cash to cash business. I'm going to tell you about our journey into the digital world here soon. We also have a very healthy B2B business. We have offices in Singapore, in Vancouver, in London, in New York, where we serve and help people move money from one country to another. As you may or may not know, this is a tricky thing to do. You just can't get up there and send $1,000, $50 from one country to another. There's a lot of KYC, know your customer involved. There's a lot of regulations to make sure everything is on the up and up. We are under a lot of scrutiny because we're not a bank, but we do a lot of banking services. So we make sure that our compliance is top notch and even exceeds the bank in order to make this all happen. We have 500,000 agent locations. Those are those stores you see about, sometimes in your local convenience store, often in major markets. We are in Safeway and Kroger's here in the U.S. I forgot well, we're in Australia Post out there in Australia, which has like 100 different services. Every time I walk in there, I'm kind of amazed by how a postal office can offer so many different things. We deal in 130 different currencies, which is also quite amazing. You don't get a chance to do that. Even at PayPal, I couldn't say I did that. 100,000 kiosks. We have a number of bank connections, which makes all this even smaller. We are having more touch points in and out of the country than any other singular company I know. Even with banks, you think of banks, they go, oh, banks must be bigger. Banks are fractured. They're all over the world, and they usually make up a very big part of one given area, but no one has a global presence like Western Union. This is me over here, or my group. 39% of growth last year in the digital age. Our mobile app is doing very well, and here is some of the banking services that I was talking about before, where people can send money either to a bank through our services, or we partner with many banks such as U.S. Bank here in the U.S., Scotia Bank, other banks you've probably heard of as well, to offer our services as kind of I'll call it a gray label rail. They don't want to have to deal with international money transfers, so they leave it to us. We partner, we integrate into their systems. So this is Western Union. This is a comprehensive suite that I'm going to take you to the beginning and show you how we got to this point today as a healthy growth company. So back in 2011, not the same. The group I work with started in November of that year. And before then, well, I couldn't call it a unichannel type of company because we did have websites beforehand. We weren't thinking like a multi-channel, omni-channel type of company. We had a singular mindset, which was protect the core business, protect the core business. The organization, and when I say digital here, I'm talking about not only digital services, but also that gray label banking service that I talked about before, was understaffed. It was that side project that everyone got to work in. It was really light on digital incentives. And really the mindset was, gosh, this digital thing, I don't know, it's not really us. Let's play to our core services. If anything, this could be very disruptive to our core business, and maybe we don't want to empower it at all. Our data was very transaction-based. It became just this machine of cranking money out and not doing much else. And the customer experience, specifically from a digital perspective, which is very important to get done because you touch people all through their lives, not only through their interaction with you, but even through emails and notifications afterwards, minimal. And the result was not surprising. It was just completely off the market when it came to pricing. When I entered in 2011, by the way, I was local hire number 1. Their pricing was not in line with their online competitors. It was more in line with retail. They opened the door to new competition. One of the reasons that they really moved on this is because suddenly they found the internet knocking on their door. People that they hadn't traditionally thought as competitors had been coming in. And the bad customer experiences were bad. Not the way people choose your next money transfer agent for the rest of their lifetime. It really accumulated into what we looked at in 2011. This was our homepage. I had to dig this one up. I had to look for a couple weeks to find it, and everyone had a good laugh at it. I mean, look at this thing. It is everything and anything. I used to have the title Customer Chaos, and legal had me take it out. But it was. If you wanted to do anything, we just try to put it all on there as much as possible. It's like someone trying to brag on everything they do. This isn't a consumer-oriented website. This is a corporate page. Hey, we do products, we do business solutions, we can help you find a location. By the way, we have the 3-day service, which is completely the wrong size, and the creative is completely mismatched. We also have this area down here on stuff I can't really read when I come to the home page, but someone had that widget, and so we just let it go on there. There was no governance, there was no organization. Oh, by the way, this was supposed to be driving our online money transfer service. Anyone see how to do an online money transfer here? There it is. It's these little pieces. Less than 5% of the page actually got people to start a money transfer service. And they wondered why they were lagging. They wondered why competition was coming out the door. We opened the door for them. So what do? We started the journey that many companies have to start. And often, specifically for the entrenched brick and mortar companies of the world, you kind of have to leave that world and click or brick and mortar behind and go to that click world. I have this. This is Frederick's diagram of journeys. This isn't official. I got to patent and get it out there and go on a speaker circuit. But there's a brick and there's a click. And I've noticed over the last decade, there was a lot of emphasis. Walmart.com sits over here. Walmart's over in Arkansas. Macy's.com sits in San Francisco. Macy's headquarters in New York. There was this focus of, hey, let's go out there and let's go become digital. Because before, it was very digital. Before, for a lot of the brick and mortar companies, it was if we just hide, it will go away. I don't want to be disrupted by digital. It kills my margins. It confuses customers. I don't know what to do about it, so I'm just going to ignore it and it will go away. And those companies I talked about found out it wasn't so. I lived this through eBay. One of my jobs at eBay was to go make partnerships with a lot of the big companies out there. The Targets, the Toys R Us's, these are American brands, but they're very big American retail stores. The Timberlands, even the Coaches of the world. We're still in this phase of, I don't know about this internet thing. I've got an online store and I try to kill it. Walmart opened the door for Amazon to come in and really own online shopping because Walmart would constantly argue with its brick and mortar stores about how the margins were just going to be tougher. They always wanted to make it the same. The common line was, well, you know, that digital thing, that's not us. That's not what we do. So then we get to this other area, and this is something I've got to experience here at Western Union, which is fine. You know what? Build digital. Go set an island, go make it, just overemphasize it, get it done. Make sure there's a present. We could go to toe-to-toe with all those online specialists that are out there making digital happen in the world. So give it room to breathe. The CEO had a funny quote that I told my boss. My boss is general manager of all of Western Union Digital. He said, look, we're getting beaten because we put this into everyone's department. We take little pieces of the digital business and we just spread it all over the world. You got to get it out of the headquarters. Our headquarters is in Denver. We have another one in London. We've got significant offices in Dubai, a lot of different places out there. Said, go set up a separate headquarters. Get out, do your own thing, and you can set it up anywhere in the world as long as it's in San Francisco. No, they know there's a lot of digital talent to come out and be had out here. So that's that phase. You give it room to breathe, and suddenly you have a digital business. As you've seen in the stats beforehand, we've done very well in the digital business. We've had very good growth. But there's a change happening, and I believe this is something that you guys have been looking through and talking through and has become a big focus, and that's this omnichannel view. This is all good, but it has to tie together somehow. You have to find a way to make the systems, the marketing, all the approaches tie so that a customer has a seamless experience and it makes sense holistically. It's probably the most difficult challenge out of all. Something that we're also going through a journey, and I'll talk you through all that as we go. So step one, let's go back into building that digital opportunity. This is a good story I wanted to share. As I mentioned, I was local hire number one. They had to think through what they were going to do differently, what kind of talent they were going to need. These are some of the major elements you have to think through if you're going to set up a different digital business. What do I do with my pricing? What about marketing? Do I let the people market separately? Do I let them market the same? IT infrastructure. What's really going to be required to have an independent platform out there presenting this to folks? How big a reach do I need? How would I prioritize that against everything else in my market? The people, the reporting lines, the incentives. This is what it was back in 2011, mid-year. 15 people in a table charting this all out, trying to figure it out. And now, today, we've got 2 major floors in a major San Francisco building, 300 people working for Western Union Digital. That's our San Francisco office. We also have digital offices in Vienna, in London, in Sydney. in Lithuania, in Costa Rica. This was quite a change in just a matter of a few years, but it required a lot of good forethought ahead of time. We couldn't just go out and wait 3 years for this to kind of come to light. We had to think through the ways to do it. It started with this. This was our compass. This was almost our Magna Carta of some ways to make sure digital was on the right track. The main thing you have to do is understand the customer you're trying to address through your digital channels. We did a lot of research up front. I carried it through when I came on board to find out more. And what we discovered is when we talked to our digital customers, when we figured out who was using digital money transfer, they were a different kind of creature. They weren't what we were used to in Western Union. For one, there was a different consideration set. Instead of just looking at other money transfer operators, they were really looking at banks a lot. Banks were our partners. Now they're kind of our co-opetition of sort. What can I do to offer something different than a bank? They also use funding from banks. We were used to people, of course, using cash, and we thought we'd go straight to credit cards. But people like to send to and from banks. In a way, we had to create a disruptive wire service as opposed to just a basic money transfer service. The prize was how much they would sell or send. If you look down here on how much this group sent, $11,000 per year. It's a little higher than our average. It's a lot higher than our average. There is a group of people that need to send money online. And this was the big aha moment. Like, wait a minute. This isn't just about our typical customer going out there and sending $50 home for graduation or $100 home to help pay the rent in some part of the world. There is a real demand of people to move money around the world. And banks currently aren't enabling that enough. Other money transfer services are trying to catch up and understand what that is. And we need to get in that market. And that person we're talking to, this isn't the same kind of customer either. They're younger, they're more established, they lean a little bit more to the millennial, they're a higher social economic level. They're in different locations. They don't even reside in the same communities that the rest of our Western Union customer service did. And one proof point came early on. As these customers started coming through the door, we did a match against a current customer base, and we learned we weren't cannibalizing the business. We weren't taking people away from brick and mortar and into the digital world. 80% of our customers were new. And that was really the big selling point across the organization. Like, wow, we just reached a different segment we never knew we could reach. And we could do it because of our core services. This only happens because Western Union, in its core, has this great cross-border engine. We know how to do things right from a financial perspective, a regulatory perspective. We have our agent support. These people still want to have payout in cash a lot of the times. They just also want the options of bank as well. And this was a great start for us. With this, we could divine a way to create a complete business to address a completely different market opportunity. Please. It was before. Now, McKinsey. We brought in a consulting group to kind of give us a group. They make so much money. I think everyone knew it. It was good to start defining it. Now, what they did was they just laid out a very broad framework. We had to get to this level of detail. But they laid out all the numbers that they can compile about money going overseas, and they went, you're playing here. There's this other stuff. We don't know the details, but we know that it is not going through cash to cash, and you guys have a right to play. So after they set that framework, our job was to follow up and give the details of how you execute against it. I think to answer your question before then, you could think about Western Union in its heyday. I don't know how long you've tracked Western Union, but it was a fast-growing, high-growth stock. And over the last few years, prior to this, growth had started to slow down. They had to look to see what was the next venture. What else can they do to help expand that market? Digital became the great discovery. For a company. Yes. Yeah. It's a new market. The 80% that I talked about of being new has not changed in the 3 years that I've been working there. continually 80% new. Yeah, 500,000. Yeah. So the receivers definitely don't mind as much. The sender agents, yeah, this is channel conflict that you have to navigate as a company. I think this really helps. So I've been brought into a few meetings. First year, I got to tell you, I was everyone's dartboard. Like, yeah, they're killing my relationship. All of our agents think that we are now competing against them and taking away their business. But then we bring out the information, and we would state publicly, which means on the street, if you state something, it's got to be right. If it's found out not to be right, you're in trouble. We would state publicly, 80% of the customer base is new to the business. And that gave them the aha moment, because here they are sitting with a brand that seemed to be kind of dusty. And as we explained to them that we're broadening the audience, and that even a lot of these folks every now and then might need to do a cash segment or a cash send for whatever. They're in a Safeway or a Kroger's, they need to do it. It relaxed their concerns that we're going head to head with them, as well as made them realize that we are going to be more relevant to a broader audience. Even if that audience prefers cash, the fact that we're talking digital and modern would help them as well. Is it perfect? No. There's still a lot of people that are a little antsy about it, but we have to continually work on that as part of the relationship. Right, right. I had to present this slide to a lot of people internally, leaders of all the regions in Europe and Asia and the US. Okay. So with this new realization of customer needs and what people are wanting to do, it also changes your mindset of what the world is. We used to play over on this side. Think of Western Union with just traditional competition. What is MoneyGram doing? MoneyGram, I always think of what a Western Union doing. RIA is another big one that's out there that's global. A lot of specific corridor specialists out there. That was our mindset. And occasionally we would hear something like a Remit to India or a Zoom, and that was this other world. Well, they became front and center. There is a lot of digital money transfers and more coming every day, especially when you're in a VC-oriented area like this. There's always this big sigh you have to do when you see someone else get $10 million of funding, $50 million of funding. People know that you have an opportunity here, so we have to step up to that. But going back to my point earlier, we saw some other competition. Some people are partners. We partner with Barclays in a lot of ways, but another means we also want some of the services they've been trying to address with their money transfer services. PayPal, Western Union never thought about PayPal 3 years ago. That's that money service that people use to pay things. Well, it's also the money service people use to send money with. We have an advantage against them. Again, working there, I know exactly how we should position ourselves to it. But until we started thinking about the broader opportunity, we would never go to market and say how that means is. And then the up-and-comers coming on. Google Wallet. Can't really send money from country to country in Google Wallet yet. Will they? Apple, same thing. There's Apple Pay. People are starting to have stored information. Is that going to come alive? We have to start thinking about what that means. Our world changed the second we adopted that customer, and suddenly it got a little bit more complicated, but it also opened the doors to new opportunities for us to think about. It was a strategic shift in our thinking. We had to go through all the points that we thought about before and redo them. Our pricing was based on the cash industry. We might give a little discount here or there if we needed to, but the larger customer segment had a different price point in mind in this space. So we had to completely retool 4,000 corridors and think about a means to optimize there, keep revenue growth healthy, but grow our customer base against the competition. Our marketing was all in store, not at home. What we did in the digital world was minimal, but that's where the customer thinks and lies and interacts with. They had little awareness that we even existed, because if you looked at display ads, we wouldn't even reference digital. We had to change that. We had to do a big spike in digital marketing spend, and we also had to change the message to call out westernunion.com or mobile apps a lot more prevalently out there. We had to also think about the site experience. You saw that homepage. That homepage was because it was someone else's business. Completely retooled. If you go and if you in the US, Well, you can't from your phones. I could show you later on. Mobile app is here. The Australian mobile app is under a major overhaul because it was something we just experimented with 3 years ago, but you'll see something new there later on this year. Shouldn't record that. But it's also going to be in many more markets as well. And we had to think about how we're going to rebuild the thing from scratch. Is there anyone from IT or engineering here? So this is a very important part to get right. So I'll just talk about this briefly here, but let me tell you, the key to success in digital business is really to think through how your IT infrastructure is going to work properly to make it happen. What you're going to need, who's going to own it, the responsibilities and timelines, coordinating roadmap, very, very important. And then communications. As I mentioned before, as a company, we were just this factory of crank it out, money transfer, transaction, transaction, transaction. In the world of a mobile app, in the world of a website, I have an opportunity to talk with you all through the day. In a brick and mortar world, you come into my business maybe 8 times a year for existing customers. You go, hi, Rosa, here's the money. I'll see you later on, and then you're gone. In the digital world, I should continue to communicate with you. I should find out what you need. What are your interests? How can I serve you in between? What kind of content are you looking for? And provide a customer lifetime experience where I measure myself not only on how many transactions I did that month, but how many customers I'm still engaged with. It's a completely different way of doing business, and something that actually has a great residual effect back. On any of these points, the brick and mortar company can still benefit from. If we think through our site experience, not only from a digital perspective, but even in store, it changes. Our lifetime experience changes with our communications, and our marketing, as you see, also learn to have to evolve, no matter if you're talking about one side of the business or the other. Now, all this was going great. We started doing digital in 2012 in full strength. And then something else happened, mobile. Now, we had an app almost right off the bat, and there was, as you see back here in 2012, a little bit of business both happening in apps and as well as mobile websites. I thought this is interesting. Some people like to do this. I still remember, everyone has their foolish moments that they say something, look back and kind of regret. I said, you know, financial services, I think people feel more comfortable just doing that on a computer. It's a little bit more risky. They don't want to just stay on their laptops. Of course, my boss has never forgotten this statement. And it grew, and it grew, and then 2014 happened. Now, this is a US chart, and it's happening in different ways and different around the world. And I know Australia is a very wired and modern country in that sense. I've never seen anything like that happen before. I've been in technology 20-something years. A complete shift over to mobile driven by millennial usage, and it happened everywhere. It wasn't just us. It happened in Google. It happened with all forums and all sites. Everyone, one after another, said, wow, most of my business is now on mobile. iPhones happened before 2012. Androids happened before then, but there was just this shift of adoption, that infamous tipping point that happened. And now we had a challenge because in many ways, we had a channel within a channel. It used to be how we were going to manage the digital business compared to the brick and mortar business. Now I had to figure out how to manage the mobile business in the digital business next to the brick and mortar business. We had to do things a little differently. We had to quickly adapt. So our messaging, I don't know how many people are familiar with Shah Rukh Khan. He's a very, very famous Indian star. He's been our spokesman for 1.5 years. Makes more money than Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt combined. So he's pretty famous. He's one of our spokesmen, but hey, move over. You got to fit this mobile app over there too, because this is really this is the big star nowadays. We did different pricing too. You had to think through different use cases. eBay was really one of the first companies to really make mobile happen well. And I remember that the leader of the mobile business stopped and thought about all the different use cases that you could have from buying and selling things. He thought about the bathroom moment. He thought about the crossing the street moment. And all those could cost new things. So if we have money transfer and it's in your phone, you no longer have to wait to send about once a month or once every other month and send big amounts. We had different price points to test. You could send $10. You could send $20. You could have the casual send because you're sitting there at the crosswalk and you can send now. So we had to come up with different price points, different feature sets. It used to be whatever we did for web, we pushed over to mobile. You've all heard the term mobile first. This is a key point where we went, wow, people are on the mobile phone but they're on it for a shorter amount of time, and you got to be fast. So let's make repeat transaction something we release in mobile first and get it out there quick. The results are good. I like this part of the slide. 4.3 rated. It's very hard to get a 5 in the digital world out there in apps, but anything 4 plus, you're in a golden moment. We advertise a lot about how many stars we have out there. You get these great quotes. I love seeing this. This is a manufacturer. This is something I could just go to Google and download this here. So easy to use. Great app. This is a good sign of success. If you focus on it and get it right, this is there. I also look for all the ones that are 1 star and 2 star and go, damn it, we got a problem. We got to go fix it over there as well. Now, all this digital stuff means numbers. Needs more numbers. Now, you guys being who you are, you're comfortable with numbers. But to manage a business, there is even more stuff you have to do from a digital perspective because you got more data to consume. It just comes to you at every given point. Some of it's more the traditional demographic search of where are all my customers at, what country are they in, what neighborhood are they in, what street do they lie in. This has been a part of a Western Union. But now with the new tools that you could have to consume big data, it's easily rendered. We could look at here, pull up a diaspora and go, that's exactly where we got to go place our billboards, and let's go out there and do it now. And then when we go put these digital moments out there, either in offline or primarily online in this case, there is a bevy of data that you could also consume. The Google AdWords, about how much you need to spend for all the various components of your campaign. Understanding how people find and discover you is important. There's a tool called Bright Edge, which is great for giving you a good view at natural search. What kind of queries are people doing before they show up at your site? Are you tooled for that? Are you able to rise above the rest? Where do you rank, and what can you do better with your content or your technology infrastructure to get to that point? And then once people get to this site, there's a whole other level of things that you need to do in order to figure out, are you optimizing every visit? So it's no longer just how's the market and how are we doing a transaction. There's all the stuff in the middle. It's almost if you are thinking in a brick and mortar way, you're tracking somebody waking up in the morning, looking at a map, reading a newspaper, seeing where their eyes go, figuring out how they discovered you, walking down the street, going to your store, seeing what they're doing. All this is data that you consume and optimize against. And you have to have the right kind of talent to go out there and do that. You have to make sure that you have people that know this business. That's a lot of what this whole area is about. The results have been good. The results have been very good. While we were starting off as a nascent business in digital, we've now expanded to be in many countries around the world. I'm trying to remember our count here because we just released a couple more this week. I think we're up to 26 different countries, and that number is going to keep expanding. Our CEO is somebody who really built the digital business outside of the, I'm sorry, not the digital business, the Western Union business outside of the U.S. He's a big believer of global connectivity and everything that needs to be done. And his idea is, I want to be everywhere. I want to be in every country. He's kind of like a demanding father. We're going, look at all this. We've got all this out here. This is great. This is a big chunk of the sends. He's like, what's all this gray area down here? What's up? Why aren't we in all these markets? They're tomorrow. There's where you need to be. But in the time we have gone out there, we've now been the fastest growing part of Western Union for the last 3 years. There's more stuff I had on here and legal had me remove, but it really kind of told the story about this has been a success story not only amongst Western Union, but against a competitive set out there as well. Those digital pure plays that I had out there beforehand, we've done very well against them. Woo Digital is covering more countries and corridors than any other money transfer service. That is a comprehensive breadth, offering more funds in and funds out options. All this goes back to just thinking through what the customer wants, living in a global business, and getting those things out to the market. So now, as you might recall, we had that journey. We started off as very digital, then we said make digital shine. But this isn't a sci-fi movie. This isn't where there's two different worlds of digital folks, robots living in a matrix world, and then the rest of us in this very human world. We laugh, but this is really how we set up the company for a few years there. We're going, okay, look, digital, you do all the digital marketing, You do the display, you do the search, and retail, you do all the billboards and the TV. It's like people just lived in a digital world out there and never came out and saw the sunshine, never saw an ad. And the same thing, we thought, well, people, if they use cash, they don't have access to digital. And why would they see a display ad? No, this is an omni-channel life that we're all living. The amount of smartphone adoption that we're even seeing from the cash segment is tremendous. Just because they like to use cash doesn't mean that they don't have access to it. So there's been a transcending point. Because digital transcends, because people live in all these various worlds, Western Union is now doing that as well. And it's a journey. I don't know how familiar you are with the term customer journey, but we had to think that through too. Because while it was very easy to organize a company in these two different components to get it started, that's not how people experience things. We have efforts all over the company now to think through how we're discovered. I mentioned that moment of tracking somebody and seeing where they go when they wake up in the morning and what they do. We have to think that through. Even if I can't do it digitally, I need to think that through and make sure that we're prepared for them when they discover what they need to do for money transfer service from the first time that we use them. Make sure that first transaction is easy, whether it's digital or whether it's in the cash world. We have to make sure we see it through, make sure there's recovery. All these elements have to be thought out and work from all sides. It starts with some of our marketing. So here's chaos to customers part 2. For some reason, legal was okay with me calling chaos to customers when it came to my marketing, but couldn't refer to it on the old site. This is what we were. This is a compilation of the marketing that was being put out both around the world, which is one thing. I think it's fair to say if I'm in Australia, I'm probably not going to go see what ad I'm showing up in France. Fair enough. Give some people room of creativity. But some of these are in the same country. Some of these are being done by 2 different teams that are showing things either on a billboard or a display ad that completely clash with each other. Could you tell this was the same company? Some of these you might. There's a lot of yellow on there. Other ones were completely off. So our CMO, Diane Scott, said enough. We got to get this together. We got to find something that's going to work, but work for everybody. What did everyone want? We wanted reappraisal. Cash people, we don't want to be the same old Western Union that we were in the past. We want to show people what we are, that we have all those apps and we do all those transactions per second, and we help businesses. We raise that bar. We raise that viewpoint. Then everybody wins. We want to talk about things people care about. If you look out here, there's a price point, price point, price point, price point, price point, price point. All right, enough already. Like, we get the price points. But what else do you stand for? So we came up with a unified messaging structure. We said, look, we're going back to the way what we want to show things. We are human. If anything else, Western Union is a great human connection. But let's start bragging about what we do, about how much we could send, about the areas we reach. We can talk about price points if we need to, because I guess at the end of the day, that's marketing. But a lot of our other campaigns are now telling people more about our breadth of services, the way that we could reach any part of the world, the number of locations. We reach the commonalities that work for all the segments, raise those to the top, and then give a creative construct for people to be able to move into their areas of focus. Because again, these segments are a little bit different, but never lose this look. So that if someone sees this ad one moment that's directed at one segment and then sees an ad the next that might be someone else, there's not a clash. It still reminded you of that past message, but it's no longer a complete jump from here to here. This was quite an effort. You can imagine, I don't know if you ever have a dispersed marketing department, but when you're trying to get everyone to agree that this one creative is a good creative, it's tough. It's been a good journey for us. There's also the effort of loyalty. Our loyalty program was completely fractured. We had loyalty programs all over the world with different terms, with different names, with different experiences. I will talk to you about one customer journey that we had even on digital in the US. If you have a loyalty card in retail, like you went in through and you've been a long time Western Union, you were one of the 20% that came over and you wanted to use it in the on the digital world, you would have to go to a completely different site, not even westernunion.com. something called WesternUnionGoldCard.com. No integration. And you would look up your information, you would put it into the machine, and it would say, great, we're all set. Now call this number so you can redeem your point. And then you would redeem it, and then they would give you another number to go put into our computer. It's like, whoa, wait, that's loyalty? That's quite a march. We've completely retooled things. The MyWoo initiative has now been underway for 2 years, and all over the world, we're unifying these experiences and making it seamless. Loyalty is a big program that's in a lot of different services and something that everyone should consider. But it's got to work across the channels, because there are a lot of people that will bounce back and forth between your channels. There are people that need to redeem at a different point. You got to make sure you don't let them down. Wherever this is, if it's hard for them to do, all that effort, all that money you set aside for loyalty backfires. It's not getting the return you want. What you see out there is part of our new Russia MyWoo site. Increase engagement and adoption by 400%. Everyone just went to it. There was good offers. It was clean. It was easy to use. Fantastic. The U.S. site's about ready to launch. We're going to do a complete retooling. We did a soft launch on another service last year. It's also going to be unified with more offers and deals, but seamless from end to end. We also had to think through a different kind of care. Now, I don't know how familiar you guys are with social care. But for a while there, everyone was all about Facebook and Twitter. Like, we got to get out there to broadcast our message. We have this brand campaign. Let's put it in the market and make sure that we get on everyone's Facebook page. They completely misunderstood what Facebook was. It's a communication. It's a two-way street. It really, if I went back to marketing, undid what branding meant. Because brand has now become what people think of you more than what you want people to make them think. Social care suddenly became part of this social fabric. People no longer wanted to find that 800 number to call, especially with the millennials. They would just flame mail you on your site and say, there, you pissed me off so much. I have made a derogatory comment about your company because you've just made me angry beyond no belief. Now, when we started, it would just sit there and sit there and sit there and sit there. Now we have an award-winning group of customer service agents that go, okay, how can I help? You've got a problem. I understand. Let me see what we can do. You have more touch points now that you're going to have to go out there and talk to people through. This is another level of investment that you need to do, or else what people have done is essentially graffitied the billboard that you've put up in the center of Main Street. You have to make sure that this area shows that you care. Not only that you're talking with people and that you've got different dialogues going about things that they're interested in, but that you care. This was another big investment that we did. And we've had great success. When it came to the followers we had, I think we had a few 100,000 when we started because of this effort to show that we care, because of the content. We're up to 5 million followers throughout the world. Not bad. And then we also have a high level of engagement. We're trying to find the conversations that they want. This Top 5 Social Care Award is also something that we're very proud of, because I think that stands in the middle of things. Yes? Yes. Yeah. No, you have to be ready to respond quickly. One of the advantages of Western Union being a global company is that we have offices around the world anyway. We just have to figure out how to do it, so we do have coverage. I have web chat enabled in the U.S. to say, if you have a problem, can we help you? There's 2 different forms when it comes to web chat. There is a standard on the right side. You have a widget, either call this number, or if you want to engage with an agent now, call that. So it's more reactive web chat. One of the more powerful things in the market today, and I'm going to get a readout on the interactive, proactive. We just see you kind of hanging out. You've been hitting a few buttons. You haven't really moved. I'm going to make a big presumption, say you're stuck. You've got a problem. Or you're hanging on these help pages for a long time. You haven't seen anything. Let me interject then. Because once you walk away, that proactive chat or reactive chat is not going to do you any good. A lot of different services out there in the market that can help with that. So this has just been a high-level view of our journey. We went from a company that started off as a very cash-oriented company. We went through this journey of trying to make sure that our digital service was one of the best in the world. And now we're going through and retooling and looking at everything end to end. how the marketing will work, how our price points will work, how the experience is going to work. So if I could give you any kind of parting advice before we go into the Q&A session out here, good luck on your journey. Start with the customer needs. I can't tell you how good a compass that is more than any other level in the world. You might even be the same segment at the end of the day, but perhaps a different use case. Dig, dig, dig until you find out exactly what they want. Think through the complete customer experience. Again, very important. All the investment of the world, if it just creates a frustrating moment, won't get you there. Make sure your digital is up to par, if not beyond it. That goes back to that IT comment I said earlier. It's the stuff behind the wall. It's really what power is, the great Wizard of Oz. You have to make sure you've got a very cracked team out there developing a system that works, is comprehensive, doesn't drop, stays up, gets you to your 4 nines type of performance. And then, particularly for this group here, I imagine, organizational alignment. Finding a way to let people get their job done in digitally and omnichannel, making sure there's clear lines of communication, who owns certain initiatives, who should be involved from all sides. This is a critical piece to show that it's successful. So that's it in terms of the structured presentation that I have here. I do thank you for your time. At this point, we could have a more casual conversation about any other components that you have about the omnichannel journey. Yes. Yeah, so Bitcoin, it's interesting. It's early on right now. And I've seen a lot of other technologies like this where people don't know exactly what to do with it. What can I tell you about Bitcoin other than it's a different means of transferring money? How many people are familiar with Bitcoin and what it is? How many people can say they know how it works? I didn't raise my hand. It's complicated. I mean, the mining and the algorithms and how many currencies are actually going to be there and what the valuation of that should be. What I do know, and what we all know at the end of the day, is it does enable people to send money from one country to another on different rails. So it starts off with the rails. Now, no one's really done much of a business outside of that. They talk to it. They talk about the freedom to be away from banks. But at the end of the day, you can't be free of governments. You can't be free of regulations. You might get away with it for a year or two if you're small, but eyes are watching. Eventually, they're going to come down and shut you down. So we are looking at the Bitcoin opportunity as an opportunity. What can we do to maybe speed up transfers through this kind of service? Who do we need to partner with to learn more? But we will never, ever, ever step away from being compliant. We will never use it as a means to not have to report on about what we're transferring from one to another. So to answer your question, technology first. What can we do to help improve our core service? And then, of course, from a marketing perspective and business perspective, I'm keeping an eye out to see who else is coming up to disrupt this service and see if there's anything that we could adopt in our own business that can match that. If they choose to go in something I think is less compliant, it's going to get them in trouble at the end of the day. Let them have it. It's a short leash. They'll be done soon. Yeah. Biggest challenge. There was a lot, but that internal communication on the first year was the toughest. You'll find CEO decree gives you some weight, but not what you need from an operational perspective. You have to really enable your team and force your team. You guys understand this. I don't even know who's who, so I don't know exactly. Aha! All right. So very important, but people have to make sure that first of all, your chain of command, top layer will all align. So second and third and fourth layers that really were some of the biggest obstructions for us doing things. And we continually had to escalate things up, say, look, we had all agreed we were going to do this campaign or pricing, don't try to block it or disrupt it. And then we'd go back down to get to the operational level. I think going a little bit ahead and making sure that people feel comfortable all the way down to the bottom, challenge your directs and have those directs challenge the next level will help a lot. I can't tell you how many times we had to spin our wheels on things. We even had one country manager try to get us shut down in one country because one agent reported something on them. Instead of coming to us and saying we got a problem with your site, he immediately went around us. That's not helpful. That's a very good question, and I can't say it's a past tense. We're still facing that challenge today. It's not unusual. Again, even eBay and PayPal, we think of these as modern companies. The spaghetti code that lies underneath those two sites is also a mess. It really comes to a good prioritization. One of the key things you need to do is make an honest self-assessment. That was one of the challenges we had early on. People would say there's no problem here, and then after a year they'd admit it. Like, okay, yeah, I guess I can't absorb that kind of volume. If you have, we brought in a new CIO back in 2013, very helpful in helping make those fresh assessments. He was free of political baggage of why that site or platform is what it is. Once we got a good view of what we could or could not do, it changed our roadmap of where we invested it in. You want to get something that is not perfect, but out into the market as fast as possible. If you look at anything, even Google, even Facebook, the fail fast is a real thing. If you wait for everything to work properly, it will take too long. So find out what part of your IT infrastructure enables you to get something in the market. Put a bookmark where you think something is going to need a little bit more investment, and then tackle in the appropriate time. One of the key things that you need to be successful with legacy infrastructure is, again, good engineering partnership, but also someone who's very good at governing the roadmap, who can keep track of all these moving parts and understand the timing of things and know to be flexible. One of my first jobs out of business or out of undergrad, way back when, I was in construction management, working for a company called Bechtel. My job back then was to make sure that the electricians didn't get in the way of the carpenters, they didn't get in the way of the pipe layers. All these things are moving and people get delayed at different parts. It's the same thing in tech. It's the very same thing. That is almost the most critical role to make this evolution happen fast. You'll also find there are times you're going to need to just let go of your past infrastructure and find a way to rebuild it. No, actually, this was under the CMO at first. CEO had been around for a couple of years before. As CEO, he actually was a long-term 15-year Western Union veteran out there. He had to go through a little bit of an awakening, too, to get to that point of starting this business. CEO is very important. Now, I think just to get to your point, you really do have to gauge. As a CIO, no one's a CIO here, right? Very important to have the right person there who's ready for this journey. I think everyone else can adapt to those various positions, but the CIO is a unique set of talent, as is a product team, because someone has to tell the engineers what you need to build and how it's going to be scoped out with a comprehensive set of the market. Gosh, almost every element of a digital business has its specialists that you're going to need, but I think those two are the most important. No, it's mostly internal. Now, when I say internal, there's a new way of doing internal in which you internally have the managers of contractors that are external. So I wouldn't say this is something that we just completely outsourced and had someone come in at the end of the day and deliver. We created the specs. We had engineering counterparts that belonged to Western Union, but then they would turn around to some of the major Indian contractors out there to build itself. I'm being recorded. I will tell you this. It's a debate that's been in the Valley for a long time. In-house or outsource. Both sides have their wins. I don't think there is a correct way. My own personal feeling, and it's not reflective of Western Union, is that if it's a small project, don't outsource it. Just do it yourself. If it is a major comprehensive effort that's going to require a lot of time, then it might be cheaper for you in the end to set up an extensive group of in and outsource. But man, it is a debate that rages through every coffee shop in this area. Yes?